Welcome to the County Manager's Report. I'm Lloyd Higuera, and with me is our County Manager, Larry Werner. Welcome, Larry.
Thank you, Lloyd.
Good to have you here. We're going to talk about the August 3rd meeting of the Douglas County Board of Commissioners. And at that meeting, commissioners heard a presentation on feral cats here in Douglas County. And is that a big problem in the county? Or tell us about the feral cats.
Feral cats. You know, it is growing, and I think it was brought up at the meeting, and it's probably pretty typical anywhere, is that we're seeing more and more colonies develop, mainly because people, the most part, is people abandoning their cats, and they create a feral, or they create a spot, and then they have offspring, and those cats become feral, and pretty soon you've got a pretty large colony, and there's, like I say, they're starting to get pretty prolific around the county. So the idea is to try to get enough funding to where if they can go out and trap some of the cats at the feral cats, then they can take it in and have them neutered and then place them back in the colony. It's kind of interesting how they'll maintain roughly around the same membership. So if you take one out, then another one will end up sticking around. So the idea is to kind of get them neutered and not have so much offspring and be able to get under control. And otherwise, they get so many out there, and I think health-wise and food-wise, it's a problem. And so, some people's eyes, it's an issue, and a lot of people are apathetic about the issue because they haven't had to deal with it. Some people encourage it because it helps reduce rodents and pests and stuff around facilities. So, anyways, more of a briefing on what's going on in the county, and to try to encourage people to maybe donate to DAWG, the D-A-W-G, to help them do some things with the feral cats.
Oh, okay. So DAWG made the presentation.
It was an offshoot of DAWG, yes.
I see.
Yeah.
And maybe the animal shelter too? Or?
The animal shelter, we, as the county, don't control feral cats. We have no cat program. It's really difficult, mainly because we're more of a regulatory side of things. And you know, I think if they are brought in for adoption, then we do work through them that way, but we don't have an active county program for dealing with feral cats. So that question kind of came up as well. But it seems to me it's probably one of these things better handled through like a group like DAWG, provided they get sufficient funding to do the things they want to do.
So is DAWG looking for some funding from the county?
They had approached the county. We had provided some through the community support.
Right.
They would like to have more, but we just simply weren't able to do it at that time. And next year maybe it'll be different, but this year it was not enough to get them through what they need to get through. So.
I see. Okay. Commissioners also heard another presentation. This is on a project that the 2017 Leadership Douglas County Group is working on. Can you tell us about that?
Interesting one. Yes, the Leadership Douglas County, which is a program sponsored by the Chamber of Commerce, is where people get to kind of learn about the county and the businesses in the county. And then as part of their graduation, they have to come up with a project. And this group came up with this I guess it's an affiliate fund project, where if someone passes away in the county and they don't leave a specific, or they don't name a specific charity or something within the county, then it can't, their proceeds or their estate can't be given to that group or to any group if it's not named. Well, apparently if you create an affiliate program, then that can kind of become a catch-all for those kinds of situations where somebody wanted to leave something for organizations within the county but didn't have any way to do so. This way they can leave it to the group, and then the group itself will then work through a program to disperse those funds out to charitable organizations. But it would kind of keep then the money within the county, as was the intent of the person that passed away. But without it, I think it goes through probate, and I don't know where the monies go, but they can't be just given to any nonprofit within the county without specific designation. Kind of a confusing issue, but it seems like it's a pretty decent idea.
Okay, maybe they have to get together with the feral cat people.
Yeah, exactly.
They can work together
well,
on
that's
that.
a good point.
Okay, so they're working on that project and just wanted to inform the commissioners?
Right, it was just more of an informational, kind of get the word out. They'll do it all within their own, they're not asking the county for any assistance or money, that sort of thing, but just kind of want to let people know what's happening.
Okay. Also, the newly reformed Douglas County Liquor Board was in session this particular meeting. Tell us about the changes on the board and what they ended up doing.
Well, the changes were kind of getting us into compliance with state law.
That's a good change.
It's a good change. And what we had found out that when we were doing a lot of stuff on our consent agenda, where the board just votes as a whole on a series of items, that there had been liquor board items on there, but actually the liquor board consists of 6 people. It's the 5 county commissioners plus the sheriff. And by doing it the way we were in the past, we were cutting the sheriff out of that process. So we started looking at the statutes to kind of figure out how do we rectify that, and then we found that in fact we needed to meet as a separate board. The liquor board then needed to elect its own chairperson. We'd always assumed that the chairman of the county commissioners would also be the chair of the liquor board. Well, that has to be actually established by the liquor board itself. And then to bring in the sheriff to be able to vote on these things, we really need to meet as the liquor board. 6 members, they deal with their stuff, and then we'd adjourn as the liquor board and reconvene as the Board of County Commissioners.
Right.
So it's to get us into conformance with state law, basically.
Okay, well, very good. Commissioners also approved the Douglas County Weed Department Operations Manual. Any major changes there?
The only changes there were increase in some of the fees. We're finding that with the rains that we've had and the kind of activity that's going on, that we simply are not being able to keep up with the weed abatement. And then we're finding that a lot of our pre-emergent and our stuff is becoming less and less effective as you get more and more rain. So we might have to go back and retreat 2 or 3 times. And right now we have kind of a, I don't know if you call it a guarantee, but we will come back and retreat areas that if it was not effective the first go around, and we're finding that that's really been very expensive for us. So they did go through and did I think it was about a $15 increase on the weed abatement fees.
And this is something that Douglas County is really a leader in, is the weed control.
Absolutely, yes. I can tell you when I was with Carson City, we met with them and tried to see if we could actually expand the program out to Carson City because of the effectiveness of it. But the issue became logistics, staffing, those sorts of things just did not work out. But it's a very good model on weed control.
Okay. Well, commissioners also approved a resolution at that August 3rd meeting granting the county manager the ability to authorize the district attorney to file pleadings to protect Douglas County and its citizens. And that sounds rather foreboding, but that's on your shoulders now.
It's kind of the way we'd always done it, but there was a recent case, Supreme Court case, where, or no, maybe it was an ethics commission violation. One of the two, but one of the state agencies that regulate some of the stuff came down and said that without specific delegation, then there really can't be the county manager doing that sort of stuff. It needed to be the full Board of County Commissioners. Well, sometimes you don't have a lot of time if there's a case that the county wants to enter in on, those kinds of things that make sense. To take it through the full step, we'd miss the time frames to do the filings.
Well, you have to put it on the agenda, and that can take time, and then you have to wait for the meeting and all that.
Exactly.
And the decision may need to be made now.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And the thing this did add, which we currently don't do, is it requires that any time that the county manager does that, he has to bring that action back to the board and let them know what the board know what's happened. There's usually time to withdraw from a case that's not so time sensitive. So if there's something there that the board decides that no, they didn't want to mess with that, then they can reverse that and direct the district attorney's office to back out of it. So
I see.
I think in some respects it's made it more transparent than less.
Okay, very good. Commissioners approved an ordinance changing the zoning from light industrial to general industrial. That's on property located in the old Sawmill Industrial Park in the East Valley.
Right. This is a company that has a propane distributorship, and they want to expand their facilities. There was an adjoining lot that did not have the proper zoning, it was zoned light industrial, so this basically just change that to general industrial and allows them to expand their facilities and their operation.
I see. Okay. That pretty much covers the August 3rd meeting of the Board of Commissioners. Do you have a preview of any items coming before the board at their next meeting?
I do. It looks like it, again, will be a fairly light meeting. We have some typical consent items, the reporting from the different elected officials. We have some grants. We have a request for emergency, a Department of Public Safety emergency response grant that helps fund the local emergency planning commission. That's probably not the non-routine one on there. And then as far as the actual administrative agenda, one of the first things we want to do is bring out what we call OpenGov, and it's a website-based program where you can look at the city's or the county's budget. It provides an ability to look by department, by fund. So if somebody's curious about monies being spent in the county, revenues coming in, it'll give everybody access to that information through a website. It's really a very user-friendly and a very informative program that we're going to roll out. We're going to present it to the board on the 17th, and then that'll kind of be the public rollout as well, and it should be up on our website right after that. So,
Okay.
we also received the a award from the American Planning Association and a couple other items on that. There'll be a presentation there. Round 2 of the Community Development Block Grant funding is starting. And what that meant was there was, from the Community Development Block Grants, there were funds made available. And at the end of the first cycle, we actually got more money into the program than anticipated. So we're now out looking for applications that might meet the Community Development Block Grant criteria. And then the county will prioritize those and send them on to the state to see if there's funding that may be available there.
Very good.
Another issue is that we're going to bring forward the contract to build the Martin Slough Trailhead. Get that started. So
Very good.
we've got a grant from the state on that. The only kicker on that is that when we put this together 2 years ago and had submitted all the applications, construction costs weren't quite as high as they are now. Excuse me. So we're asking for a change order to amend the contract by about $62,000, and we will take that money out of the room tax fund to help fund that. But we feel that it doesn't make sense to rebid it. We're not seeing any change in bids, and I think this is going to be the norm from here on out. But we'd like to get this going, at least get that part started of the Martin Slough Trail.
Great.
Public Works will be submitting a reorganization. We've been looking at with the assignment of people and staff, made some changes out there. I want to bring back to the board kind of a total reorg that we think will be more efficient and get more boots on the ground so we can start dealing with a lot of the road issues and things that people are concerned about. So I think that'll be a positive thing. We'll actually add one more position, but the overall there'll be a savings of about $50,000. We're converting some management positions into worker positions, so that's where we can get the additional body with the less cost.
Okay.
And another one that's probably good for public information is that their hours will be changing at the lake for marriage licenses on Saturday, Saturday marriage license sales, and we're going to try to limit that from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., and we'll see how that goes. Currently it's 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., and we're not seeing a lot of activity in that last 3 hours, plus it's getting fairly expensive to staff that.
Sure.
So we're looking at maybe being a little more efficient up there. And then we're revising our social media policy to try to get up and current with the technology that's out there today and kind of set the boundaries by which county employees and departments use social media.
I see.
Try to
Well, that's ever changing. That whole.
Oh, it really is.
Yeah.
And then another one that I brought forward is the idea of doing an impact fee, a feasibility study for impact fees. That was an item on the board's strategic plan to kind of get to that point to see if it makes sense to have an impact fee program within the county. This would just look and see whether or not that's something we want to do. Is it effective? Does it make sense? So that'll be on to authorize me to retain a consultant to help us with that.
Okay.
And that's pretty much it.
Okay, wow, it sounds like a fairly busy agenda. Okay, that takes a look at the August 3rd meeting and what's coming up at the next meeting. I thought maybe one more question I'd like to ask you is about the search going on now for an assistant county manager. How's that going?
Yeah, it's going well. We started advertising a little bit before the 1st of July when we knew that the budget was going to be in place for the assistant county manager. We received about a little over 100 applications. We went through some evaluations based on resumes and job experience, that sort of thing, and then we did some phone interviews. Ended up with a final group of 8. Those 8 went through a interview panel process on Monday, and being narrowed down to 2 or 3. We're looking at bringing those folks to a community reception that will probably be around, I think we're around the 21st of August. We're trying to pin that down, but we're also trying to make sure that after the people went through that process, they're still viable candidates.
Sure.
So if they like us as much as we like them. So once we get that firmed up, then we'll put notices out that, yes, it's specifically set for this date. At that point, we'll ask for, they'll do a presentation, kind of a meet and greet, and we'll have comment cards for anybody who wants to come, and we'll gather those up, and that'll be part of the overall process that will probably, I will interview the candidates the following day, and we'll make our final selection at that point.
So you do have 3 candidates now.
I think we have 3. It may narrow down to 2. That's kind of the issue we're in at this point.
Oh,
so.
I see. Okay. So you've got,
Two to
you're
three.
getting down there.
Yes.
Very, 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 very close. So maybe by the end of August, you'll have an assistant county manager?
Well, I would hope we'd make the decision at the end of that week, and then depending on how quickly that person can come on board will determine when they come in.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing probably more mid-September by the time we get through
okay.
that. But
All right.
by the time they do background checks and those sorts of things. So.
Sure. Okay, Larry. Well, I thank you very much for all the information you've shared here on the County Manager's Report. That's what we do. Our County Manager, Larry Werner. I'm Lloyd Higuera for the County Manager's Report, and we'll see you next time.